and this is why I prefer to stay at home to watch movies. The Last Matinee was written and directed by Maximiliano Contenti. I'm pretty certain I mispronounced that. I do apologize. This is set in the capital city of Uruguay in 1993, centered around a movie theater. Obviously, since it's the last matinee, it'd be really weird if it was set at a baseball field. You can't really have movies at a baseball field. You could try, but it probably wouldn't work. And also, it is full of a bunch of actors from Uruguay. I don't know much about the Uruguay film scene. I know people expect such things from me, and I do apologize. I will do better. In all seriousness, this is from Dark Star and Bloody Disgusting Pictures, so you know it's going to be good, because Bloody Disgusting will make things, well, bloody and disgusting. Otherwise, what's the point of naming something Bloody Disgusting? So this is basically a throwback to Italian slashers and slashers from the 60s and 70s. You could tell from the graphical opening. And they did plug like a bunch of studios, like a whole bunch of studios, and people had something to do with this because it was like 90 seconds of intros, but that's good. A bunch of people had their goddamn finger in the honeypot. And I did like the opening credits and the synth music and everything, and you could definitely tell that the director and the writer, he has an appreciation for slasher movies of old. And that's what this movie basically was. In fact, I would argue this is one of my favorite movies of the year because it was a nice throwback. It was simple. You had a bunch of people in a setting, in a movie theater, and you had a killer. And that's really all you need. Do you need to know the motives of the killer? We never really knew the motives of the killer in Deadly Games / Dial Code Santa Claus. And as far as like some killers, you don't always need to know the motives. Sometimes that's a little bit scarier. And fun fact, the killer was actually played by the director, I believe. And this movie, it's really, really simple because it's set in a matinee movie theater. I think it's only one screen. I mean, if there were two screens, they never showed the second screen, but there were a few crazy, kooky characters. There was this one old guy that was seemingly either homeless or just had nowhere else to go. He didn't want to go home, and he just sat there, and he kept watching movies. And even the usher was like, okay, I don't get paid enough for this. And there were kids that were there for the previous showing. And then a couple of those kids left when the usher saw him, or saw them rather, and then said, well, y'all need to go home. One kid didn't. He decided to stay behind, and that was his fatal mistake. Or maybe not his fatal mistake. Let's find out a little bit later. And there is a father doing the projection work in this, a lone theater that pretty much had seats, I think, from the 1960s. In fact, there was a theater that used to be in my city that had seats similar, and it was deconstructed in 1998, and I don't think they ever upgrade those seats after 1958. But anyway, his daughter Anna shows up, and she wants to study, but she also wants her dad, who's a heavy smoker, heavy smoker. He had about 18 packs of cigarettes in his little drawer, where he did his work. And she said, go home. You can't be working these 10 plus hours. I'll do this stuff. You don't know how to do it or whatever. You can't do this stuff. There's no possible way. But she says, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing because they're headstrong to take you on. Anyway, she is, this headstrong girl that don't need no man because she sends her dad home. And also be kind of gross to, be there with a family member. Seriously, make sure your family tree isn't just a straight line. Moving on hastily from this image that I have given everybody that has seen this movie. We do see a person that we don't actually see the face of, and they have a jar of something, and they're eating this stuff out of a jar. What the hell? Could it be jalapenos? Pickles? What could it be? We actually find out a little bit later. And there are these kids. They're standing outside drinking. I guess the legal drinking age in Uruguay is when you come out of the goddamn womb. And I found out later that one of them was a girl, and I couldn't actually tell. Just because, the age and stuff like that, and the fact that they didn't really indicate that, but two boys and a girl, and one boy is talking about this beautiful girl that he saw on the bus stop, and then also there's this couple that is, well, not a couple, but they're having a date, and beautiful brunette, my fucking goodness, never really caught the names of some of these actors, not really goddamn important, but she was beautiful, and from there, these people sit down and they watch a movie called Frankenstein, Day of the Beast. And it's a cheesy I think, was it 2011? I think it was 2011. I remember looking. It was from a while ago. But this is set in 1993, so obviously no cell phones. You just have the regular, stuck to the wall phones. And Anna's working the projector and sees this stuff and everything. And meanwhile, these people are unaware that a killer is in the midst. And, oh no, what's going to happen? What is this killer going to do? Is he just going to sit there and watch the movies? Well, no, he's a killer, so obviously he's going to kill. That's the whole point of being a killer. Otherwise, why would you call yourself a killer? Don't be a killer, by the way, but if you're going to be one, you can't call yourself anything other than a killer. So, From there, we find out a little bit more about these people. This one, among the three kids or teenagers, he wants to go down and talk to this beautiful girl that he saw at the bus stop because she comes into the movie. And there's a couple others in there, and there's only the one usher, and everybody else, basically, it's a very deserted theater because they're just running second-rate movies, which is actually kind of hilarious. I think Frankenstein Day of the Beast actually was from a long time ago. But it's kind of funny that this is set in 1993, but seemingly is showing a movie from the future. Uruguay must have access to a time machine. So, basically, from there, we have this killer dispatching people, and in pretty creative ways, actually. There's this one that involves smoking that's a really good kill, and in others where you don't really know why this guy's doing it. You never find out why the guy's doing it. Sorry, spoiler alert. But he keeps picking people off in pretty creative ways, and it's pretty goddamn cool because since it's in the dark of the theater, you see the blood, you see the gore, but you don't quite see everything, and it's left up to the imagination. It's dealt with some subtlety. It takes about close to 30 minutes of this, 90-minute movie to get to the first kill, which isn't the worst thing in the world. You build that shit up. They don't necessarily build a lot of these characters up outside of Anna and a couple others, but at least with that, you get this anticipation. What the hell's going to happen? Let's have the other shoe drop. And then, as people get dispatched, more, the few people have to band together and everything and fight back against this killer. And do they survive? Who the hell knows? It's a slasher, so maybe none of them survive. No one will survive. So, yeah, I enjoyed the subtlety as far as, building up to the kills. And yes, some of the kills were gory and actually pretty goddamn cool. You get to see this stuff with the killer being all vicious. You eventually do see his face, at least somewhat, and a pretty goddamn gory that various people meet. The synth score and the throwback feel and just the one location shoot. Sure, it was a cheap movie. Obviously, it was a cheap movie. I can't imagine this movie cost all that much. It's not that it looked cheap, but when you do one location shoots, it's basically because you have a small budget. But that's not the worst thing in the world. And Contenti actually makes this work to his advantage and creates a pretty goddamn fun slasher that really is very enjoyable. It does remind me of Deadly Games / Style Code Santa Claus without the comedy. I mean, there is some good comedy in this too, but it's like that was more of like Home Alone, the horror version. And this has, some good stuff as far as some good chase scenes, trying to run away from the killer and stuff like that. And since it's in the theater, it's compact, it's tight, it's nicely done, and it's well filmed. And you really kind of feel like you're stuck in a theater, like you're stuck with these people. It's nice and immersive, and it's also quick. Since it's just under 90 minutes, it doesn't overstay its welcome. And sure, okay, is everything perfect? No. Obviously, you could say, well, why the hell didn't you just do this instead? Why are you being stupid and doing that? But that's Slasher Movie 101. So I am going to get into spoilers here, so do see this movie. It's available on Amazon. I think it was like $4.99. I enjoyed it, and I didn't think I would, because I'm looking at it, I go, well, the poster looks silly, but it turned out to actually be quite fun. Anyway, spoilers. Okay, so, various people get picked off. At one point, that really hot brunette gives a hand job to her date, trying to make him butter his own popcorn, if you know what I mean. He meets an end in a bathroom stall, getting his head bashed into the floor and then throat slashed. And then the usher went out to smoke and got caught, and smoke was pouring out of the neck wound. Really, really good stuff. And then he just starts, destroying people, killing them left and right and everything, left, right, and center. And he's got all these tools, and it turns out he's got this one tool in there, and what the hell's going on? It looks like it couldn't be a melon baller. It is a melon baller because he's taking the victim's eyes and he's putting them in a jar to eat them. Because killer. But you know what? That's a good thing. Because why the fuck wouldn't he do that kind of stuff? The blood, I did kind of find it funny though that, nobody noticed in this dark theater. This movie that seemingly played forever, when actually I think it was only playing for 90 goddamn minutes. Nobody notices the blood on the railing and stuff like that, and the various people there are getting killed. And eventually it comes down to Anna and the girl that was in the group of, who I thought were the three boys, Angela, I believe, and a little boy. But then Angela ends up meeting an end. And then it comes down to Anna and this little boy, and they basically end up dispatching. She actually ends up stabbing the killer in the eye, and he has to pick out his own eye, cut it off. That was good shit. The gore effects, the practical gore effects were very well done in this movie. And yeah, he has a jar full of eyes and he scares everybody. And then he gets stabbed through the chest at the top of the stairs. And Earlier in the movie, there was this point where this boy had a bag full of gumballs, and the bag burst, and they popped down the stairs. Well, in this, after he got stabbed, the jar busted, and the eyeballs went down the steps. And then police ended up getting called, during the fracas, when not Brackus. No, we don't need Brackus. We don't need that guy back. If you're a wrestling fan, you get it. You get it. And you have to be a deep cut wrestling fan to get that. But he ends up meeting his end, and then Anna and this boy are looking, just looking at each other. She's trying to calm him down. The police are here, and he just sees this eyeball staring at him at the end. Now you have to wonder, is this going to lead to him possibly being a killer, him being scarred for life, whatever? Could be open to The Last Matinee 2, Electric Boogaloo, even though it would be the second to last matinee if we were going to have a sequel. But I gotta say, this movie was a whole lot better than I expected. From pretty much the word go, I was kind of locked in. Then I was really locked in when they did the smoke kill scene. That was good stuff. Nice, enjoyable. It's not going to, reinvent the wheel. You don't need to. This guy understood subtlety. This guy understood as far as, having, a love for Italian slashers, also just as far as synth, rather, the Italian movies, and also just old school slashers. It was good. I hope this guy does more stuff. I think he's done other movies. I haven't really had a chance to see that stuff, but if he does more horror, I'm locked in. Anyway, A-. A-. I can't necessarily say the movie was totally perfect, but it went way above my expectations. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Whitland. I'll see you soon.